When was the last time that you binged a video game? Or maybe even just a Netflix series? Maybe a show appealed to you and you had the weekend and you went, you know what, we're going all in on this. I want to watch this whole freaking show this weekend. Maybe you wanted to revisit Lord of the Rings and you took a couple days while you were on vacation to just rip through those films. Or maybe you picked up a new game and you were really excited about it and you dove straight in there and did not back down. In contrast, when was the last time that you played a game very slowly, very patiently? Just a couple hours a week, just a little bit of gaming every week. It's not a daily thing. It's not like a deep cut binge over the weekend. It's just every once in a while, oh, I've got a chance. Maybe I'll check this game out a little bit. Maybe I'll make a little bit of progress. Maybe I'll go back into that world and move forward a little bit. I think there are times in my life where I want to binge games, and there are times in my life when I want to play them more patiently. I think there's value to both versions of playing, but I'm curious, are there certain games that direct us towards binging them and other games that direct us towards experiencing them very slowly and patiently? It must be a part of the design of the game, right? My general feeling is that most games lean towards binging. But I think that's a feeling that comes as a result of my own tendency to dive really deep into a game and binge it until I'm done with it and then go to something else. There have only been a few games in my life that I've played very gradually, that I've worked through just a little bit at a time. Usually what I do is I grab the game and I go, okay, let's go, let's finish this, let's get as far as I can before I burn out, and I either finish the game or I stop. You know? And I'm wondering, is that is that a me thing? Like, is that how I play games, or are there a lot of games that are designed to pull you in that way? Because recently, I've played a few games that invite me to be patient, and I've played a few games that I normally would have binged in a very patient manner. So I want to explore that with you today. I want to look into this. I want to look at different games, how they present themselves, and I want to look at how we can learn about that from a development perspective, how we can take those lessons and put them into our own game development. This is Game Develop Repeat. I'm your host, Chris, and let's get started. My default setting when I pop into a new game is to binge it. So when a game convinces me to take my time, it's very nice. When I played Dragon Quest XI, which I've talked about before on this show, when I played Dragon Quest XI, I felt calm. I felt peaceful. I felt like I could just experience it gradually and it was okay. And I could just take my time and soak the game in and just enjoy it a little bit at a time. And maybe this was about a specific time period in my life too. Maybe it's not just that the game did this, you know. There's a lot of factors that involve just me and when I started playing this game and then the game itself. That's always part of the conversation when you're discussing how much you enjoy a game, is like, well, where were you at? You know, it's not just about the game, it's also about you. What were you feeling at that time? But regardless, I do feel like Dragon Quest XI invites you to take your time. There's a certain peacefulness in every character that you interact with, even though horrible things are happening and all of this stuff. There's a certain amount of patience, even during the bad stuff. There's no panic, really. I mean, maybe the characters are panicking, but somehow, as a player, I don't feel panicked. You know, it doesn't give me that, like, oh God, I have to move forward. I have to do this. I have to do that. It feels like I'm experiencing this world that is always peaceful and hopeful and calm, no matter how bad things get, which is something that is so valuable and so beautiful. It's such an interesting thing there are so many games that make you feel a little panicky. There are so many games that feel urgent all the time and compelling and deadly and dangerous and all of this stuff. And these are valid things to put in a game, and they all feel fantastic. But it's such a different experience when bad things are happening and you still feel calm, right? And I'm so curious about how Dragon Quest XI did that to me. I'm so interested in how they presented this feeling of peace and calm in the bad times, because I think that's something we could use in general, right? I think this is one of those lessons from a video game. Like sometimes we play a game and we take something away from it, and I think there's something to be said for calm in the storm, right? Calm in the midst of absolute panic and having that help you navigate horrible situations. It really is the game that made me go, ooh, I'm going to take my time with this. I'm going to just enjoy this experience gradually. I feel like there have been other games that do that, and maybe it's that my tastes are changing and the way that I consume games is changing. But like the Yakuza series sometimes gives me that feeling. And sometimes it gives me the feeling of, okay, let's rip through this. But every once in a while, it's so over the top that I go, oh, I'm sorry. You probably just heard my chair squeaking. I apologize. It's so over the top that you can just kind of accept it and just kind of go, oh, okay, this is what it is. And oh, here's laughter despite all the chaos. Here's a moment of friendship despite all the chaos. Life still exists despite all the chaos. Joy still exists despite the fear. It's nice. It's hopeful. And those are the games that I love enjoying slowly. They're a constant reminder of the good things. At the same time, there are games that appear peaceful and calm on the surface, and then you play them and you go, I have to keep playing this game. I have to keep moving forward. There's so much to do. I'm so excited about this, that, the other. Let's rip through it. Let's absolutely consume this game. Forager is my go-to example of this. That game is one of the most addictive titles I've ever played. It sucks you into the game and straight through it. I ripped through that game. Some other games that do this to me are like roguelikes and roguelites and whatever you want to call the genre. Things like Tales of Magial was deeply, deeply compelling to me. It was a game that I just had to keep playing. I don't know what exactly it was about it, but I could not stop. I was like, I got to figure out this next thing. I got to figure out this next thing until I was done. And then when I was done, I was done. It took a few years, revisit it maybe, but for the most part, I got what I wanted out of it, and then we're finished. There are other games that do this that are not roguelikes. There's stuff like Civilization. People will just binge Civilization and put so many hours into it. When I binged Civilization, I got tired. I got mentally drained from playing that game and reading all these things and all this stuff. And then I was like, oh, you know what? This isn't a game that I'm going to like obsessively binge. I do the same thing with strategy games in general. Age of Wonders, I've done the same thing. I start playing it and I go, I'm going to play this forever. And then I stop playing it in like, I don't know, 40 hours of gameplay at most. So maybe the genre that sucks you in is going to vary too. But there is something about certain games. Sorry, chair squeak again. Something that just sucks you into the game. Something that makes you go, let's keep moving forward. I want to spend as many hours as I possibly can on this game until it is done. And I'm more prone to that than other people, I think. Maybe. I wouldn't know, but I believe that I'm more prone to diving 100% into a game and getting everything that it has to offer or burning out on it as soon as possible. I've done this with JRPGs. I've done this with games like Skyrim or Morrowind, probably more so Morrowind. And it's nice in a way. But recently I've been enjoying doing the flip side. I've been enjoying slowly playing games, even if they're super compelling. Hollow Knight, which I've been playing on stream, is so compelling. And I want to keep exploring, and I want to keep looking at other things, and I want to find out what else there is to see. Dust Force, Celeste, both of these games, I want to keep going and diving in the same time, having just this like limit where I only play them on stream for 2 hours a week is nice. I've been enjoying them so much more because I've been getting to learn more about the game and explore different things and like have my brain be on during all of my playtime and actually like really consciously experience what I'm playing instead of consciously experiencing the first little bit of gameplay and then turning off completely as I've been playing for however many hours straight. I like this. I think this is wonderful. And maybe this is just me learning how to game in a more healthy manner, but I do think that it's worth discussing and worth mentioning. Now, there are other games that I play that feel like they want you to binge them, but, and this is the part that I think is really interesting to look at, they have like an infinite amount of content. And to me, from a design perspective, this doesn't make sense. And I guess we'll get into that more in a minute, but MMOs tend to invite a binge and simultaneously never end. And that's a lot, you know? There's a lot of MMOs that are like, you should keep moving forward, keep playing, keep playing, keep playing. And like the MMO fan base is sort of known for ripping through new content very quickly, racing to the end of new content, and then just going, what else do you have? Give me more. And the developers have to go, well, give me 6 months to a year. I mean, come on. There's so much to do. So then you give daily quests and all this stuff, and it gets a little weird design-wise. But there's something about MMOs where it feels a little contradictory, you know? It feels like they're like, binge this game. Consume everything this game has to offer. Oh, by the way, this game has an infinite amount of stuff to offer, and we intentionally make sure that there's an infinite amount of stuff because that's very important to the success of this product. So that's an odd, as a player, that creates an odd experience. If I binge a game and I finish it, I feel good, right? I got through it, beginning to end. We're done. It's not a big deal if I binge a game for 8 hours and then I'm finished with it and then I never play it again. It's kind of a big deal if I'm binging a game and it never ends, because then it's taking up all my playtime. And then what ends up happening is I either stop because it's taking too much time, or I stop because I get bored, because I will inevitably get bored if it never ends, right? At least for me. I don't know. Maybe I get bored of games a little bit quicker because of how long I've been playing or something, or just a personality trait. But I do tend to get bored of a game that's like, that I'm binging if I'm doing it over a short period of time and it has a lot of hours. But let's talk more about what we can learn from all of this, because I feel like I'm just on the border of that conversation. So let's just go ahead and jump deep into it. Let's say that you're designing a game, as many of you are. And by the way, if you're working on your game and you're making a ton of progress, or you want to share progress or ask questions or all that stuff, we've got a Discord. So feel free to jump into the community. And people who know a lot more than I do will be able to help you with programming questions, because boy, is that not my strong suit yet, but we're getting better every day. So anyway, let's say that you're designing a game and you are making it compelling. You want the game to suck the player in. You want to rip them through the experience, right? You want to give them that little scorpion hook shot and just pull them all the way to the end, right? I hope that metaphor made sense to you. But you're giving them the get over here, right? They're at the beginning of the game. You're pulling them straight all the way through to the end. How are you going to do that? I think we can learn lessons from a few different games here. One is goals. Constant goals. If you want your game to be bingeable, if you want your game to suck people into it and just pull them straight through the content and have them thinking about it before they go to bed and then thinking about it the next day and going, ooh, I can't wait to get to that next thing. You make sure that wherever they are in the game, they have another goal when they leave. They have something in their brain that goes, ooh, I want to do that next. Checklists even are huge for this. World of Warcraft is so good about giving you an endless pile of quests. Everywhere you go, you get quests. You finish a quest, you immediately get 2 more. You will never stop having quests. It feels like I have to check these off. I have to get these done. And then you reward them for accomplishing every goal. So your player is thinking, what am I going to get for accomplishing this goal? How far forward am I going to move for accomplishing this goal? What new thing am I going to discover for accomplishing this goal? Am I going to level up? What do I get when I level up? This sort of thing. Some kind of list of goals, sequence of goals, whatever. And it doesn't have to be a list. There's a game I played the demo of, and I'm sorry to do this, but I'm going to call this out. There's a game that I played the demo of called Terra Nil. And when I played the demo, it did not have a list of goals like that. And I loved it. The pre-release demo was so good. It was a game about cleaning up these environments and all this stuff. And I enjoyed it so much. It did not have that kind of list of goals. It had an interface that kind of like hinted you towards what you were going to do. Most of the goal was just looking at the screen and cleaning things up and going, ooh, it's starting to look visually better, and working your way through this and fixing this environment. And then I was like, I'm definitely buying this game. And I bought the game, and they had added a list of goals, and they'd made some significant UI changes to make sure that you know exactly what it is that you need to be doing at any given time, and they're giving you like little achievement things and stuff. And it ruined the game for me. I don't know why, but it did. I from the demo to the full release, that one change, that one addition of a list of goals made me have no interest in the game. Maybe it was some combination of the vibe of cleaning things up and it being peaceful, and then giving me this list made me like not feel the same way emotionally, but it changed the emotional impact of the game so dramatically that I lost all interest. And that's just from adding little achievements, little text things on the screen that say, ooh, do this next, do that next, very specific goals, telling the player exactly what it is that they should do. And I don't say that to say it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just very impactful. And anything that's extremely impactful can be very good or very bad. It's going to depend on the player. It's going to depend on a lot of factors. But for me, that was bad enough that I refunded the game. I did not have any interest in it anymore. Something about just adding that list of goals. At the same time, I think something like World of Warcraft would be a very different game if it didn't have the quests. If the quests didn't work the way they do, if there wasn't constantly some next thing to accomplish, some guideline leading you towards saving the world sort of thing. But like Morrowind might not be as compelling if you added a list. I don't know. So that's interesting to think about, but I think that is one of the ways that you can make a game bingeable. Another way would be short runs. Super Hexagon is one of the most bingeable games I've ever played. It is so enticing, and every run of that game can last for like less than 5 seconds if you die quickly. You can die almost instantly. At the same time, you can get a good run going. You can get a couple minutes in and the music is changing and the visuals are changing and it's sucking you in and it's enticing and it's interesting. And oh, you died. You can get back there. Start again. Oh, you died in 3 seconds. It's okay. You can get back there. Start again and again and again and again and again. And now it's been 2 hours of these freaking 5-second gameplay loops. It's like TikTok. I'm sorry, Terry Kavanagh, I think, is the designer of that game. Not to compare your game to TikTok. I feel like somehow that's insulting. And I don't mean it in that way, but there is an element of one more, right? You can give it that one more element. I think there's a game called like One Way Heroics, or maybe it was like 5 Minute Hero. I think those are two different games. Those have some amount of this. Tales of Magial has this. A lot of roguelikes have this. Hades might have this, depending on how you interact with it. But that one more effect, or the, oh, let me just explore this thing over here. Keeping things just close enough that you want to go explore the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. There's always a hook, always another hook to pull you forward just a little. Now, how do we balance that? Let's say you don't want your game to be completely pull you in until you're done enticing, right? Like dragging you along to the point where you either have to stop playing the game or finish the game. Because I think there are games that do that. What if you want it to just constantly give you the option of continuing and giving you a bunch of good options that are like interesting and enticing without forcing you or like really, really begging you to keep moving forward? Well, I think in that case, you just leave nice little hooks all over the place that aren't crazy. You know, maybe there's not some massive reward for everything that you do, but you leave just enough interest where they can go, I wonder what that is. But it's not saying you have to explore this. I think Skyrim is pretty good about this, although it is a binge-worthy game, right? But it's pretty good about going, oh, here's a bunch of locations. You can go check them out. Whatever. Do what you're going to do. It also has the quest system, and I think the combination makes it much more bingeable. But Breath of the Wild is really good about this. There's stuff everywhere that you can kind of explore, but there's no like quest that you have to go do right now. It's just, oh, what if I try this? What if I try this build in this game? What if I try this strategy in Civilization, right? But Civilization is pretty bingey too. So it's a hard balance to find. Let's, in order to find that balance, look at a game that does not do this. A game that lets you play very slowly, very patiently, very comfortably. Let's look at Dragon Quest XI. I want to see what it's doing. What is it doing? How is it doing this to me? I think the art style is huge and the dialogue is huge. Every bit of dialogue has this weird, jokey optimism. It has this weird like level of instead going, oh my God, we have to get here. Everybody's going to die. If we don't get here in time, we're doomed. We have to save the world now. It's like, don't let go of hope. We can do this. You can do this. We will get through this. It's like confident that you can handle whatever is coming at you. So then you don't feel like you're in a rush. You don't have to prove yourself to the game. You just go, yeah, we're going to handle this. And you know what? If I leave this universe, if I abandon this game, they can handle it without me. They'll be okay. I think that's an element of it. It's like, yeah, they'll be okay. Everything will be fine if I just work my way through gradually. Now that I think about it, Guild Wars 2 does this a little bit too. The storylines in Guild Wars 2 are like, yeah, they're high stakes, but everybody's just a little bit goofy. Some of the deliveries are like, some of it's a little campy, you know, especially in the initial character storyline. I haven't gotten further past that. I hit like level 80. But there's something about some of the dialogue that's like, okay, we're not taking this that seriously, huh? We're kind of joking around. We can relax on it. Letting the player know that they can relax, it's fine. You know? If you want to make your game comfortable, if you want to make it a game where people can pop in and out whenever they want, and they're not compelled to play constantly and incessantly, and like it's not the first thing they think of when they wake up kind of thing, right? Because you can angle your design towards making people constantly think about what's going on in the game, or you can angle it to be like, oh, here's a nice little rest. I'm not saying either is better than the other, but let's say you want to make it calm. I think maybe Animal Crossing might have some examples. I haven't played it though, so I can't really draw from it. Stardew Valley kind of is like this. Stardew Valley is an interesting mix of both, because when I play Stardew Valley, I'm compelled. I want to keep moving forward. I'm hooked. But it also has the peacefulness. It's kind of high stakes, though. You're kind of worried about saving this town. You're kind of worried about making enough money for your farm. You want to upgrade all these things and so on and so on and so on and so on. But it's almost a calm experience. It's almost a game where you can just go, oh, yeah, this is nice. Let me just play a tiny bit every once in a while. And I think for a lot of people, it probably is that way. It's definitely not that way for me. When I play Stardew, I want to keep playing because it has that nice loop. But I'm realizing it's harder to design a game that is an excellent game, that is compelling and interesting and exciting, while having the game be so confident in how good that it is, that it, maybe that's not even the phrase, while having the game invite you to take your time. It's very hard to have someone take their time on consuming a piece of media, because there's so much media desperate for your attention. There's so much media out there that is like, you must read this, you must watch this. This is the greatest thing there has ever been. It needs all of your attention, all of it right now. Watch it anytime you can. Listen now. Oh, you're in the shower? Listen to my podcast. Right? You must keep consuming this. So it's really hard to come up with designs that say, hey, we would really like to have you here. Check this out. Enjoy this. And don't feel compelled to stick around. It's here because we believe that you'll enjoy it. We trust that this is a good time, and we think that any time that you're looking for a nice little bit of relaxation or just a nice experience, you'll come around and you'll play it a little bit. But you don't have to finish it right now. Come back around when you're ready. It's the Uncle Iroh from Avatar. I would love more games that have the same energy as Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender from the animated series, where he's just so calm throughout the entire series, but he's also just like, he's just there, interacting, helping people, doing his thing. And I feel like maybe I'm asking for too much out of a video game design, but I do think that a game that is designed to be slowly consumed is a beautiful thing. And I think a game that's designed to be quickly consumed can be a beautiful thing too. But I don't see as many of the slow design ones. And maybe that's just because they're not as compelling. Maybe it's like a self-filtering thing. Or maybe it's my own perception of every game that I've played. But how do we do this? Is it just the stakes? Is it the game needs to be really good and low stakes? I feel like Spiritfarer is almost one of these games, and I think the only reason I ripped through Spiritfarer is because I loved it so much. Spiritfarer is absolutely a game that you could play very gradually, very patiently. Eastshade. Ooh, Eastshade is a good one. There are these games that have a feeling of peace. There are games that have a feeling of take your time, soak it up, enjoy it, come back when you're ready, whatever. Oh, and one of the things Dragon Quest XI did, here's a huge takeaway, actually. Dragon Quest XI recaps the story very effectively and very briefly whenever you start back up. And you can skip it. It's totally fine. But if you haven't played Dragon Quest XI for 2 months, it will give you a quick, effective recap of where you are in the story right when you jump back in. And this belongs in every single story-focused JRPG. If you're making a story game and it is like 50 to 100 hours long, the story recap is so powerful. It made me not worried about my pacing on that game. That is one of the biggest factors, now that I'm thinking about it, in my enjoyment of that game. Because every other JRPG I've ever played, if I take a week off, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to remember anything. But Dragon Quest, I take a week off, I pop in, it reminds me, and I go, oh great, perfect. Let's finish this up. I don't have to restart the game. I know exactly where I am. That's brilliant design. Giving your player a way to reconnect with the game after some time off. That's so important. Making sure that getting back into the game after a break is fine and is not stressful and is not something you need to worry about has such a huge impact. So if there's any concrete lesson, I think that's the concrete lesson, because I think that should be there regardless. Even if you want your game to be really compelling, don't make the player restart. Give them that out. Oh, you went on vacation for a month? You can come back and finish this game. You don't have to restart. You didn't have to take notes before you left. It's fine. Here's a reminder of what's going on. That's great. That's so good. I've been yapping for long enough. I'm passionate about this topic, but I haven't 100% solidified my theories about this. I think there's a lot to think about here, and hopefully this gets you thinking about it. Let's wrap things up for the week. I've got a couple questions to wrap things up and leave you with something to think about for the week. The first question is, what gaming pace do you, on average, enjoy more? Do you like binging? Do you like taking your time? Do you like a little bit of a mix? What is it that works for you? I typically binge games, but lately I've found that I enjoy slowing down a lot more. When I play a game a little bit every week, I enjoy it so much more. And I've learned this from Hollow Knight, which is a marvelous game that I've been playing on stream. 2 hours a week every Friday. We're getting really far along. I just hit like some DLC stuff. If you're interested in that, Anxious Buddha Games on Twitch. There you go. That's the plug. Next question. How compelling do you want your next game to be? Do you want it to be something that is constantly pulling you further into the game? Or do you want it to be something that is just a nice spot that you can go to if you want a little peaceful gaming experience? At the moment, even though I'm making a fishing game, I kind of want it to be weirdly compelling. I want it to be kind of a short title, but I do want it to be weirdly compelling. I want it to be something where you want to keep playing over and over, because it has a little bit of it's making fun of dating apps, so it has a little bit of kind of a slot machine feel to it, where you're swiping and swiping and swiping and looking for the right fish to catch next, and then you catch the fish, and then you start swiping again. It's in order to accomplish its goals, it has to be a little bit too compelling. That's kind of the angle. So that's what I'm working on right now, and that's the angle I'm taking with it. Last thing, I call them tips sometimes. It's just a thing. It's an experiment. A potential experiment you might enjoy. Whichever pace you normally take when you're playing games, like whether you binge or you do it very patiently, consider testing out the opposite. Now, if you're really against binge gaming, then maybe don't test it out. But if you're somebody who's consistently binge gaming, like going onto games and just ripping through them over the weekend or whatever, give it a shot, taking like 2 hours once a week to work through a game, because I've enjoyed games so much more playing it that way. Now, sometimes I like a good binge, Maybe there's a game, maybe you never have time to do a binge gaming session, and then you try it out, and then really pay attention to whether or not you actually enjoy it. That's the interesting bit of this, is like, do we enjoy binge gaming? Do we enjoy gaming gradually? Because then that informs our game design. Because ultimately, we're trying to make games that people enjoy. And if I find out that binging a game makes me enjoy it less, I kind of want to not design bingey games. And if I design a game and I find out that playing patiently makes me enjoy it less, then I kind of want to make games that people binge, I don't know. It's just some food for thought. That's everything I have for you this week. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. This has been one that I'm very passionate about, but I haven't found the answers, as is typical of this podcast. I'm very interested in all these things. I haven't found the answers, but I'm looking for them, and we'll see if we get there one day as we keep moving forward. I'm starting to feel good about my game development skills. I did some refactoring that I got excited about. I'm sorry I haven't been doing as much check-in stuff on the podcast lately, but because I'm publicly coding, I feel like people can just see what I'm doing, and I keep forgetting to check in on the podcast. Like it's disappeared from my brain a little bit. Okay, that's everything. Let's call it quits here. Thank you for joining me. We've got the stream, Anxious Buddha Games on Twitch. We've got the Discord if you want to connect with the community. You can always email me, anxiousbuddhagames@gmail.com, with any comment, concern, game recommendation, progress report, whatever it is. Feel free to hit me up. It's cool. I may not get back immediately, but feel free to hit me up. That is it. Goodbye. Have a good week. Get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.